So as you can tell, the Civic is on jack stands and no wheels. So we're finally changing the setup on the Civic. I sold the wheels about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and something new is coming. So you're gonna stay tuned for that. But today we're gonna overview exactly how I got the camber on my Civic, because a lot of people DM me and message me, ask how I got the front camber in the Civic, how I got the rear camber, and etc. So we're gonna go over all that today so you guys can get at least a couple ideas of how to stance out your car. First of all, let's start before we start. Change the front brakes. I'm doing all the maintenance on the car. I'm doing the front brakes, the brake fluid, the spark plugs, and a whole bunch of random stuff. The rear brakes were already done. Those were fresh. They're just, obviously it's been sitting, so it just rusted over like surface rust, but they're good. Fronts are brand new with new pads, new rotors. I changed the spark plugs, and I'm gonna have to do the brake fluid. I'm gonna flush that out. Oh, and I did an oil change. For the front, as you can see, my old wheel was rubbing because, you know, stance. But on this side, I have the top bolt slotted. So I actually notched this hole so like an oval so that I can push this in. And then on the bottom, I have these plates that push this out. And I have them marked with markers so I know if it slides, because I had a situation before where the top plate, or not the top plate, this plate did slide in and caused the wheel to get even more camber. Look at how much camber this wheel has compared to this wheel. And right now how it sits, it's at -18. So that's when this happened here, when this got loosened. So I haven't marked, and I redid them so that I know exactly where they sit and if they move. So in the front, I have basically an extended tie rod. Is a tie rod that is longer than the stock one. I got them off of Volvo because the extended tie rod that I had was cracking, that was welded and stuff. So this is a lot safer, and I don't have to deal with none of that welded stuff. And of course, we find a crack on the tie rod.
Extended tie rod, that's welded. That's not welded anymore, it's cracked.
And I have an extended lower control arm that's extended 1 inch. But since you're here to learn about stancing and how to camber your car and how to go about it and all that stuff, let me tell you, the extended lower, a lot of people think they need it for camber and all that stuff, but that's not the reason why you do it. When you add a lower, extended lower, it actually just pushes, it kicks the bottom part of the wheel out this way. It doesn't help with fitment at all. So the reason I have that, because the axle was binding, because I was already to its limit, so it was binding. So that's the reason you do a lower, is to push the axle out so it has more space so you don't bind. So concept is, when you add a lower, it's kicking this out. This is staying the same. So your fitment on top is gonna stay exactly the same, and the bottom is just gonna kick out. So it's gonna look very like drift car-y, because the lower is really pushed out. So I personally, I'm trying to get rid of that. So the new wheels that I have on order, that they should be here very, very, very soon, they're a little bit less aggressive, but I'm still gonna have to run double-digit camber to fit them. But my goal is to get rid of that lower because I don't like the look that it gives, as you can see here. And it's not that I don't like how the front lower looks, it's just that it doesn't match the look in the rear. So you can see here, like the front bottom pokes out a lot compared to the rear. So if the rear looked the same, then I wouldn't mind keeping the lower, but since it doesn't match, that's why I want to get rid of it. So now that we have the fronts out of the way, the front was sitting at -18 camber as it is right now without changing anything, and I still had room to add more, but that's where I needed it to fit the wheels exactly how it was. So now we're gonna get to the rear. In the rear, I was running about -15, I believe, or -16. So it was almost even to the front, but it had a completely different look than the front. Rear on this car was very easy. We have some, well, these were arms that are made from Fly Air. This is the first ones. These are like the prototype. That's why they're just black, but they're just bolt-on, and then I shortened them even more to get the camber. So I didn't have to do nothing else. No adjustments here, no adjustments anywhere else, no welding, none of that stuff. So this arm, I was able to get it at -15, 16. And then actually, my wheel was actually still rubbing here because my wheel was a 10-inch wide wheel. So basically from here to here, there's only 10 inches, not even, because it was hitting here. So new wheels are gonna fit a lot better. They're gonna poke just as good. But what I was talking about, the difference of the front and the rear, is that the front has that lower. So it kicks it out and it gives it a different look than the front, because the front was like, the lower was kicked out. So you can see a lot of the tire. and then in the rear is just top camber. So it was just tilting the wheel, and that's exactly what I want to do in the front now. I want even camber, but I want it to look even too, because the other one was only off by like 2 degrees, 3 degrees, but it looked a lot more aggressive because that bottom was kicking out. And then yeah, on this side is super simple, just the camber arm like I said. And then the only thing with this type of suspension is that you don't have any toe adjustment other than the factory one. So I had that adjusted, and it didn't get the alignment perfect, but it was good. Tire wear was actually really good. And I think the alignment was at like -0.3 or -0.4, if I'm not mistaken. And the tire wear was good with the camber that I was running, so no complaints there. I thought the tire wear was gonna be a lot worse, but it was good, maybe because it had so much camber. So as for the next setup, I really wanted to do 17s because of how it looked when I was at ride height. I was at the rim, even tucking a little bit, and the car itself still looked high. And a big reason was because of the lowers. They're extended so much that when you extend them that much, I don't know, I'm trying to explain so you guys can understand. When you extend them that much, it kind of raises the body itself. It gives you the tilt and stuff from the bottom, but the body of the car goes up. So it made the car look higher than when I wanted when it was rolling. And I was literally tucking the front wheel a little bit when driving, and it still looked high. So I really wanted to do 17s, but I got a really good deal on some 18s, and they're gonna be so good. They're brand new specs. I got to choose the specs basically, and I know they're gonna fit. They're still aggressive. Like I said, they're still aggressive, still gonna have to run double-digit camber, which is what I want. But I might be able to remove that lower so that I get the even look, and then the car itself at drive height is gonna look lower itself. Because like I said, the car from the side looked amazing rolling. But when you got to like the front, like for example, like this angle, when it was driving, the front bumper just, it had too much gap from the floor. So it was like I was driving low, the body itself was low, rear and front was low, but the car was off the ground. It was high. I literally could drive it normal. I want the body itself to be close to the floor. I don't want to see a lot of gap. That's my preference. So stay tuned, because the wheels are coming in soon, and this car is gonna get a whole new look. And then to overview it for the new people, new viewers in the channel, it's a 2007 Civic Si. I have TLX retrofits that I did so many years ago. I was probably one of the first people to do it on this car. And then the rear is a JDM conversion, of course, because I feel like that's a must on an 8th gen. I have clear taillights, OEM style, and clear. And then I have a Mugen style diffuser and FD bumper or FD2 bumper I put on recently. And to be honest, it's been one of my favorite mods. I love how this bumper looks with the diffuser and everything. And it's not common. Not a lot of people run it. So I love how that looks. FD2 style side skirts, because the OEM ones are like $1,000, and yeah, boy broke. Front lip is the OEM HFP for the 07 front. Then obviously, not obviously, but I don't run wipers. I like how that looks. This car doesn't get driven much, especially in the rain. And then tints are 5% all around and 15% on the windshield. I have hybrid mirrors on the car. I have them wired like this so that they're on when I'm driving. I like that look better. I don't really care if they blink or not. I like when they're just on. And of course, for suspension, fly air. So it's slim bags in the rear, so it gives me a lot of clearance from the exhaust. And then the strut, this was me, obviously, like I showed earlier, from rubbing the wheel. We got fly air struts, and then same thing with the fronts. It's fly air, and then it gives you a slim bag so that you do have a lot of clearance, and you don't have to worry about shaving stuff down when you mess with fitment. Sides is basically stock. I have a radio. I have the Chuchero. Don't mind the mess. It was in a car show and I unclipped that car seat. But simple PRV speakers all around on the doors. And then I have 2 subwoofers, 2 12s, 2 audio pipe 4 stacks. I gotta redo the box. I need to get a bigger box, custom box that's ported to the inside. And then I have everything down here. Probably not the best setup for like heat management, but like I said, I rarely use the car. Doesn't really see much use, so, and it's not like it's a super powerful music system, so the amps are fine down there, and the air management, compressor, all that stuff is down there. So yeah, this is a nice overview of my 2007 Honda Civic Si and how to stance your car.